Right. Welcome to the Cigar Chronicles podcast. I am one half of your amazing host. I am Tremont Arnold.
And I am Ernest Tilley.
And today we definitely have a pioneer in the community. He's not only talking the talk, but he's walking the walk. He's definitely involved in so many organizations. He's out here making definitely a movement, and not just sitting in the seat. He's actually doing the work. But before we introduce our guests, we definitely want to give a shout out to BS3 Network as well as Roku TV for the opportunity to host this podcast. Definitely want to thank all of our podcast affiliates for posting us. Also, our sponsors, Crimes by Terry. Also, we have Wing Snob Cigars. Wing Snob, they just have better wings, as well as, last but not least, Soul Brothers Cigars. So we definitely appreciate the sponsorships, appreciate the opportunity to host this podcast. And without further ado, I'm going to let Ernest introduce our guest today.
Thank you, Tremont. As Dallas City Council member for District 3, Casey Thomas was elected by his peer to serve in Mayor Pro Tem in 2018. He served as chair of the Housing and Homeless Solutions Committee, where he led the council through a racial equity audit of the city's first comprehensive housing policy. He also led the city efforts in collaboration with Dallas Real-Time Housing with a goal to cut the homeless population in half in 2 years. He served as vice chair of Workforce Education and Equity Committee, which is the mayor's top priority for his term. He served on the Public Safety Committee, where he led the council's efforts to establish a community police oversight committee. He was recently appointed Safety Committee, where he led the council's effort to establish the Community Police Oversight Board. He is recently appointed as co-chair of Racial Equity and Leadership Council for the National League of Cities. He is a native of Dallas, Texas, where he was born and raised, attended Dallas ISD, and graduated from Skyline High School and received his bachelor in Business Administration and Human Resource Management. He's also the Texas Political Action Chair. Well, we all welcome Councilman Casey Thomas.
What's going on, fellas?
No problem, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for persisting. I know we've been trying to get this together for a while.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we want to just start off. First question is, as of today, Wednesday, what inspires you? What inspires you to get out of bed? What inspires you to do the work that you do in the community?
Man, just being honest with you, it's a commitment to serve, man. Serve the community. I believe it's a calling. Each and every day I get up, honored to have an opportunity to represent the city of Dallas City, which I was born and raised in order to provide leadership for the city. But really, at the end of the day, it's about being able to serve our community, being able to make sure that they have access to the resources that the city has, and they know how to access that and use it for their benefit. So that's what it is, man, a commitment to serve.
All right. When did you realize that you wanted to run for public office? And actually, when I say public office, I can say it for other politicians, but with you, I'm gonna say, when did you realize that you want to serve?
Man, definitely, man. I get asked this question a lot, and I really hadn't thought about it. It just was the next progression, in terms of my, activism, what the case may be. But when I was in college, I went to University of North Texas, and when I was in college, I was on the Student Government Association, which is our student government. Little did I know then that was laying the foundation for me having the opportunity to serve in elected office. I was very active on campus. Was a part of a group that led protests and marches on the campus of University of North Texas, advocating and demanding basically more Black students, Black faculty, Black staff, and tenured Black faculty, and a center on campus, which is now called a multicultural center, where students of color can come and call their own. And so just having the opportunity to be active in college. And then once I graduated, was part of this organization called ECOSIA, grassroots community-based organization, focused on getting millennials that live in the South Dallas Fair Park area active. I was the political action chair of that organization. We hosted candidate forums with a focus on issues that were important to millennials at that time. Had an opportunity to serve as president of NAACP here in Dallas. At the time, I was the youngest president in the history of the branch. And through having interactions with our school board members, our mayor, having interaction with our council members, interaction with the superintendent, I got the bug. Opportunity came about for me to run. I ran against an incumbent, lost, stayed active. That's the one thing a lot of people don't know. Even if you don't win, stay involved, stay active. I was on the city board. My mentor at the time was the late Councilman Leo Chaney. He put me on the first board. I was on the Community Development Commission, stepped down to run for office, was reappointed by his successor, and then had a chance to serve under my predecessor, Vonseal Jones-Hill, who was the council member before me. She talked to the mayor at the time, Mayor Rollins, and about appointing me chair of the Community Development Commission. I served as chair of the only board that I ever served on. Stepped down when the seat was when Councilwoman Hill was term limited. She decided she would endorse me, and so ran with her support. Ran like the wind, and fortunately was able to get elected. And I've been here since then. After our first term, I was the only Black councilman out of 4 that got reelected. And so it's been an honor and pleasure to serve. And as was stated, I am not term limited. My last term ends in June of 2023. And so people ask, what you gonna do next? I said 2 years is a long time in politics. So if people want me to continue to serve and the opportunity to present itself, I'll be glad to offer myself a service. Once again, it's been an honor and a pleasure each and every day to do what I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let me just ask you a quick question, because you kind of touched on the term limit. Do you support having a term limit as part of being a city council, or would you think that would be something that could be just an ongoing as some of the other political like House reps and things like that? Mm-hmm. Do you think it should be a term limit, or do you support it, or you think it's or not?
Yeah, it's easy, when you're in the seat to say, you know what, we should have term limits, elections or term limits. It's easy to say that when you're in the seat, but just being 100, a lot of us would have never had an opportunity to serve if it wasn't for term limits. After so many years, you do need a fresh voice, someone with a fresh vision, who's going to come in and has renewed energy and motivation, enthusiasm. This job can be a grind. Many people say it's a thankless job, but it comes down to why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing what I do because I have a heart to serve. And so when my time is up, I'm hoping to be able to groom a successor. That way they can step right in, come with their vision, and pick up where I left off. If not, someone's not, worthy of that, then we'll let the residents of District 3 decide who they want to follow me.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Before Ernest, I was going to say, before you ask the next question, Ernest, I definitely want to shed light on, something you just said, grooming a successor. You have a lot of elected officials that are in these seats for 50, 60 years and don't groom the next successor, and it puts us in a position where we're going against each other, trying to get somebody, in that next seat that's not ready. So, like I said, I think that I commend Councilman Thomas for at least, having that mindset of grooming a successor. I just want to say that.
I agree 100% with you, Tremont, definitely. I guess our next question would be: has black politicians been bred to be led, or have we taken steps to lead unapologetically?
One of the things that my generation, I'm 49, I'm Gen X. One of the things that my generation has had to do is we've had to, for the most part, make our own way. We didn't have a generation who was willing to say, hey, come alongside and, I'm going to, show you exactly, how to lead. Oftentimes they want us to come in sit down, and just do what we were told to do. And our generation was willing to do that. However, the millennials and those, who are coming, Gen Z and Gen Y, they're not trying to hear it. They're not trying to hear it. And I'm gonna be real honest with you. If I didn't get in and my colleagues who came in with me didn't get in when we got in, the window probably would have closed and nobody from Gen X would have had an opportunity to have served on the Dallas City Council. Because I can tell you, no millennials are snapping at our heels. I had 2 that ran against me 4 years ago. Now I had to show them that smoke. You know what I'm saying? I had to show them, hey, this is my livelihood. You come for my livelihood, I'm coming for yours. Hey.
Yeah, that's 100.
But I encourage them for being willing, to step out there and run, even though they caught that smoke. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be willing to understand, it's rules to this. You know what I'm saying? You don't just jump up and down, up and see, well, President Obama got elected president, so I'm going to run for city council. No, player, we ain't seen you in the community. We don't know who you are. They're not trying to hear it. Especially in my district, I got a lot of older, upper middle class, professional, retired African Americans who, if they don't know you, they're not trying to hear you at all. So you've got to show yourself in the community. Get out and hey, I didn't mention this. Forgot about it. I was a precinct chair. Get out here, be a precinct chair. It's hundreds of vacancies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't even have to run. Just fill out the form for the vacancy. Understand what a precinct chair does. Get in at the most basic, fundamental level, and it's an elected office. You have to get elected in order to serve as a precinct chair. Get out here. You get to know the candidates. They get to know you. So when the time comes, the opportunity presents itself for you to run, people know who you are. But if you just jump up and say, hey, I'm going to run for office, have been on the board, have been on the commission, have served on the neighborhood association, we're not trying to hear you. You know what I'm saying? Get in here, put that work in. You know what I'm saying? And once you put that work in, then people will respect that work and they will respect you and give you the benefit of the doubt as a potential candidate who's going to represent people. Elected officials, I don't call myself a politician. Politicians have a bad name. I'm an elected official. Elected officials are elected to represent people, school board, state rep, it doesn't matter. You are a representative. And so people who vote for you, they understand that you are there to represent them in their interests and concerns. However, at the same time, they have to trust the fact that you're going to make the decisions in the best interest of that district, of that, whatever the case may be, because what they may want and may be good for them may not be good for the city or the county or the state or the country. And so you have to have that respect of your constituents that they're going to allow you to make the decisions that you need to make and trust that you have the best interest at heart.
I agree. That's couldn't say it no better right there, man. We appreciate that. And we're, again, just for our listeners and our viewers, we're on with Councilman Casey Thomas. If you have any questions, make sure you submit your question. We'll definitely try to get those questions asked of the councilman. In addition to that, can you provide some information as it relates to the paid sick leave with regards to Dallas and how that stands or where it stands at this current time?
Yeah, last I was informed that there was a lawsuit that was filed against the city once the city passed paid sick leave. However, those who voted for it did it because we recognize people need to have, a way of taking care of them family, even when they're sick or when they're ill, especially in the day of COVID. COVID has completely changed the game, man. It's completely changed the game. Think about it. I'm chair of the COVID ad hoc committee for the city of Dallas. I've been in space ever since the first stay in order place was put in place by Mayor Johnson. And what we've seen is during those stay-at-home orders, during the shutdowns, we saw how businesses, were truly impacted. And even when they decided to come back with the mask and with the vaccines and things of that nature, think about it. There's been businesses, and I've seen several of them. You drive by one day, they open. You drive by the next day, and they close 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. And unless you know what's going on, what has happened is somebody has tested positive for that virus. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they got to shut down and completely do a deep cleanse to make sure nobody else who comes in that space is going to be susceptible to that virus. And so what about those individuals who are hourly workers who are not able to work because they test positive for the virus? Kids got to eat. Right. Bills got to be paid. And so they got to have a way of supplementing for them not being present in order to be able to take care of the things they need to take care of.
Yeah, I agree. I know. I applaud y'all for even moving forward with getting it passed. But again, there's some that just don't want folks to have the littlest or smallest of things just to survive as as a middle class. So I commend y'all for moving forward with getting that passed. I guess my other question would be is, how do we as a city get a better grasp of this homelessness situation in Dallas?
I'm going to encourage everyone who really is serious about doing something about homelessness to do 2 things. One, look up BMA, Black Male Alliance. Me and about 3 other brothers created this alliance back shortly after I became chair in January of 2021, chair of the Housing Homeless Solutions for the city. What we recognize is the next thing I look up is the SPARC report, SPARC report. What we realized through the SPARC report for Dallas is this report was a report done to address race and homelessness. Majority of the people that are homeless in the city of Dallas look just like me and you. They're Black men, older Black men. And so when we talk about addressing homelessness, we've got to do it with a racial equity lens. If majority of the people who are homeless look just like me and you, maybe a little bit older, then we've got to make sure that we're providing housing for those men. It could be a variety of things. Many of us are a paycheck away from being homeless. It could be a situation where they lost their job as a result of COVID. Could be a situation where they lost their job as a result of organizational change. Many could be veteran dealing with, impact of, PTSD. It could be a variety of things. Could be drugs. Yep. Providing a place to stay for these brothers and providing the wraparound services, be it mental health, be it workforce training, be it transportation, providing these services that's going to help them to get back on their feet. And if they're dealing with mental illness, they still need a place to stay. I was just thinking about this the other day. Is this not an oxymoron? Is this not hypocritical to say housing the homeless? If you got a place to stay, are you still homeless? But yet and still, we use that term all the time.
That's true.
Housing the homeless. Well, if I'm housed, I'm not homeless.
Right.
What I may need is some support. I may need some services that's going to help me to be able to make sure that I can take care of the things that I need in order for me to be able to maintain this housing that I have. And so, I said this around the horseshoe. We can't be afraid of our own shadow.
Right.
How are we going to be afraid of people who look just like us? If it wasn't for the grace of God, that could have been us. It could be us. And so we can't be so heavenly bound. We know earthly good. We can't look down on people who look just like us because our plot of life may have been different than theirs. We have to be grateful and appreciate what we have, and then provide an opportunity, a hand up to help another brother. Now, at the end of the day, and this is my philosophy, gentlemen, everybody deserves an opportunity to improve in life. If I provide you that opportunity and you don't take advantage of it, I did my part.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves an opportunity. I know at least 3 brothers I have seen on the corner. One day, I had left home to go get something on Christmas. Saw a brother on the corner. Went up to him and said, "Hey, man, you want to get off the street?" He said, "Yeah, I sure do." I said, "I tell you what, I'm going to make a phone call. You going to be right here? I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to have somebody to come." Because, like I say, I've been over homeless for the city of Dallas for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got the director on speed dial.
Mm-hmm.
Even on Christmas, I called the director. I said, "Hey, can you have somebody on the outreach team? It's a man who's at this location. He told me he wants to get off the street. You have someone on your outreach team to come out here and talk to him and provide an opportunity for him to get off the street, because we have shelters that individuals can go to right now." They came, and by the time they got there, he had left. And it's 3. One example. At least 3 different times I've asked people personally, if you want to get off the street, let me know. And then people come, So all you can do is provide an opportunity for people. But we have to be willing to do that. We can't be afraid of our own shadow, Jim.
That's funny you say that, because, man, every Christmas, a lot of folks know this, some don't, but every Christmas or Christmas Eve, I'll go downtown to the bridge, to the parking lot behind it, and I will feed the homeless. And I've done it ever since my mom passed, with the exception of last year when COVID hit pretty bad. But this past Christmas Eve, we went down there. I had my neighbors, a good friend of mine. There was quite a few of us that went down, and they had closed the parking lot, but the side of the street, they said we could have tables there. So we started feeding the homeless. I was walking back and forth, letting folks know we had food. And I went across the street. There was a lady in a wheelchair, homeless, and I asked her if she wanted something to eat. And there was a lady behind a car that was using the restroom. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were there. So I asked if she wanted something to eat. She told me, she said, "Well, tell my son he'll come over and get something to eat." So he walked over there with me, got some food, went back. I walked down to the end of the street, and on the way back, I heard a gunshot. Pow. Then I heard 6 more. Pow, 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 pow. So the same guy I had just walked across the street to give him some food, some guy that was homeless right there where he was, tried to take his food from him and shot and killed that man in the street while we were right there. I'm like, all right. And then that's not the worst part. And he shot him. I didn't think he wasn't dead at the time, but the ambulance got there, within minutes. And I saw him trying to resuscitate the guy. I said, "Oh man, he gone." And so the thing about it that kind of touched me, or really kind of just bothered me, of course, the guy was young. He may have been under 30, but to see the homeless folks' reaction to him being killed, and the thing that's bad is that folks fail to realize that the homeless community is a community in itself. Mm-hmm. So they kind of, when stuff happens, they hurt just like we hurt when we lose a family member. And just to see how they were so appreciative of us actually providing food to them, to this being almost numb. Like, man, one guy came to me, he was just standing still shaking. He was like, "Man, I was standing next to this guy when he got shot." Wow. Standing next to him, he said, "Man, I don't want no food. I'm just glad to be alive." And then I didn't even see the guy who shot him. Still to this day, couldn't identify. I don't even know where he went. But to see this happen just in our very eyes, it was just crazy. I'm like, God. But to your point, the homelessness is a big deal, and mm-hmm. It's good to know that you're doing stuff like that to try to help get folks off the street, because a lot of them probably just, that's all they need, is just one little act of kindness to point them in the right direction. So again, I applaud you for that, man. That's amazing work that you're doing, I have to say. I'm sorry, Teron. I didn't mean to go off. Go ahead, bro.
No, you good. People need to hear that. People need to hear that.
Right. Yeah. Right. just to kind of pivot just a little bit, can you talk about the voter engagement initiative that you're involved in, and just kind of let people know, what it is, that it is, and also like if they want to get involved and how they get involved.
Absolutely. So I've been for about 6 months now. I've served as a political action chair for the Dallas NAACP, and on January 17th, I was appointed the political action chair for the NAACP, the state of Texas, for the state NAACP. And so what we've been doing is we've been partnering and building coalitions with a number of organizations all over the state of Texas. We've recently created a partnership with the Texas League of Women Voters. We're working on solidifying a partnership with the Texas Association of Black School Educators. When we look at what's being done as far as education, just here in Texas, the bills have been passed, the anti-critical race theory. We need Black teachers, Black educators speaking up and speaking out and making sure that they're involved in the political process, as well as the influence they have over young people. We've got to once again get our young people registered, knowledgeable about the issues, knowledgeable about the candidates, and most importantly, out to vote. We also have built this allegiance with a coalition with the 100 Black men of Greater Dallas, Fort Worth, 100 Black men of Greater Houston, 100 Black women of Greater Dallas. We're working right now to build a coalition with not only the Dallas Pan-Atlantic Council, NPAC, but we're working on building a coalition with every NPAC council in the state of Texas. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Recently, we've got our regional director who's signed off on every Kappa, and that's breaking news. I haven't even announced this yet. Every Kappa chapter, undergrad, and alumni are going to be participating in this voter initiative as well. And so we're working really hard to build coalitions all over the state of Texas. I'll be having weekly Zoom meetings with every political action chair of every branch in the state of Texas. One of the things that we've got to do is we've got to work together. We've got to make sure people understand. Early voting in Texas started on Monday. We're in the midst of early voting right now. I get the numbers every single night for Dallas County. The first day, we had 6,588 people that voted.
In the city of Dallas.
In Dallas County. In the whole county.
Wow.
Yesterday, I got the numbers. We've got about 7,100 people that voted. So we're around 14,000. And when I check my email, probably in about an hour, I'll have the numbers, and I'm posting them on my Facebook page every single day. Casey Thomas II is my Facebook page. I'm posting information about voting. The Texas League of Women Voters has a voter guide. The Dallas chapter has a voter guide with 5 QR codes, how to vote by mail, how to check your voting status, early voting locations. All of this information is readily available. I was sharing with a group not too long ago. I said we do a okay job on voter registration. We do a terrible job on voter education, and we have not really done a good job on GOTV, get out the vote. Let's sit down. Let's put together effective strategies on how not only to effectively register, but to follow up with the people that we register. Just think about this for a minute. If everyone, new voter that was registered, we had a way of following up with them, staying in contact with them, making sure they knew when early voting is, making sure they knew where the voting locations are, making sure they knew what's on the ballot, who the candidates are, what they stand for, whether you're Republican or Democrat. And then we made sure that they knew exactly how to go about voting. They had a sample ballot. If we put that work in, what type of results do you think we would have? My goal is for us in November to have the largest Black voter turnout we've ever had in the state of Texas. Many people don't know there are more Black people in the state of Texas than any other state in the United States.
Right.
If we just activate the Black vote and build partnerships with our Latino brothers and our Asian brothers and sisters and progressive white voters, if we just build those type of partnerships and work together, we will see real change in Texas in November. And then you know who those elected officials who we put in office will be accountable to? Us. Because we did the work to put them in. We do the work to hold them accountable to move our agenda forward. We can't wait until the legislative session starts to start going to our elected officials at the state level and let them know the bills that we want to see passed.
Right.
Just because you're not in the majority, we just want to see the effort. We want to see you try. You just never know what may happen if you put forth the effort.
Man, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say after that, man. That's definitely facts. You know, and I could definitely speak on what you were saying because I'm a part of 100 Black Men, Greater Dallas, Fort Worth. So, like I said, I know that we are definitely getting more involved in the political process. Now, I'm gonna pivot just a little bit, so I'm kind of stay on that same spectrum. How do we infiltrate some of these power groups in the Black and brown communities and get them more involved in the political process?
You do it one organization at a time. We've got, one of my good friends is Miss Molly Bell. She is a publisher of the Dallas Examiner. They host Monday Night Politics every Monday where they have candidate forums. And Molly gets frustrated sometimes. She say, you know what? We provide good information, but people just not reading. People just not going to vote. And I told her like this, and it changed her whole perception. I say, Molly, we have to build a coalition of the willing. If we just take people who are willing to either be trained or willing to go out and educate other people about voting, or just willing to go and vote and tell other people or take other people to the polls with them. Let's just start build a coalition of the willing. We just don't know how far that may actually go. And so she said, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. I said, well, hey, that's where we're going. We're going to build a coalition of the willing. And that's what you do. You go one organization at a time. You have your plan and strategy. A lot of people talk about Stacey Abrams. And the sister's bad sister. I commend her. I got a chance to go and see her when she was here in Grand Prairie. And Stacey will tell you, it took 10 years for them to turn Georgia blue, to make real change in Georgia. All people saw was the runoff election for the 2 Senate races and how when the runoff happened, how those 2 Senate races went Democrat. But they didn't see Stacey when she was putting PowerPoints together going to talk to funders. They didn't see that. You have to put the work in. This is the time to put the work in right now. If we put the work in right now, by November, even by October, we'll have a coalition so well trained, so well organized, then all we need to do is say, early voting is starting. We need you to go out and vote. Just think for a minute. If every organization would do a voter roll call, just for members of their organization, if we could just get the members, not the community we serve, but just get the members of the organizations to commit to go and vote, to hold one another accountable, to say, hey, I voted today, did you? How much of a difference would it make? There's no growth without accountability. If we hold one another accountable to get out during this primary time and vote, by the time we get ready to focus on the November election, we will be used to and trained and organized. And it's only a matter of then us reaching out to others and bringing others in. We'll already have our core. Then we'll be able to build on that core. And then we'll have the type of numbers that will earn us the type of respect that we have long deserved.
Boy, he said something now. He said something. Woo-wee. Goodness. I guess we'll kind of shift a little bit. Boy, I tell you, you planted the seed and sowed it.
And watered it.
I guess we'll kind of shift a little bit as far as I know this is a big topic I think currently going on at the city council, and we just want to get your take with regards to getting broadband access to the southern sector of Dallas, in addition to just the city of Dallas as a whole. We want to get your take on that.
Sure. One of the things that exposed the disparities that exist when it comes to the digital divide in our community was the impact of COVID on education and teaching. What I failed to say is, before I was on the city council, I spent 15 years in the classroom as a classroom teacher. So my background was education and teaching in school. Mm-hmm. So many people those of us who lived and worked and worship and play in the southern part of the city and the county, we knew this. We see it every single day. However, what it exposed was people who live north to the fact that these disparities exist. Mm-hmm. And who's going to let a child, little poor black child, go without having access to technology? Mm-hmm. So we saw people it created a sense of urgency to make sure that young people, the kids, had laptops, iPads, even mobile hotspots, because you can provide me with the technology, but if I don't have access to Wi-Fi, then it defeats the purpose. Right. And so we saw the impact that it made. Now, we can't just do things short term. And that's what happens. We want to make a quick fix. No, we need a long-term solution. And so when we received our ARPA dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars from the federal government, we've already allocated $40 million to go toward addressing the digital divide. What I have committed the past 3 years of my life to at the city council is addressing racial equity. Let me talk about that for a minute.
Yes, sir.
There's a difference in equity and equality. Some people say they want equality. I don't want equality. Why give me equality when I'm already at a deficit? I'm never going to get you. And so what you have to do is you have to say, I give a real simple analogy. We're running a 200 meter dash, right? We're both at the starting line. The gun goes off. My opponent takes off, okay, and gets about 60 meters ahead before I even leave the blocks. Well, he's already got a 60 meter head start on me. In order for equity to occur, he has to stop. I have to catch up. Now, once I've caught up, now the race will really begin. And that's what we have to do. The city of Dallas 2 years ago passed a resolution on racial equity, which said that every program, policy that we do now and into the future has to be done through a racial equity lens. That has transformed the way in which we do everything, our budgeting process, allocation of resources, in terms of how many code officers, how many police officers, you name it, infrastructure, the whole 9 yards has to be done through a racial equity lens. Because of that, we saw this deficit when it came to digital divide. So we had to allocate tens of millions of dollars into this partnership we have with Dallas ISD and other organizations focused around addressing this digital divide from an equitable standpoint. So we are committed. We're not just talking, we put real money on the table to address this issue. And we have to challenge, our telecommunication companies to step up to the plate and to provide the resources that are necessary in order to make sure that those who have not have access.
Thank you. Oh, wait. That's it. That said plenty right there. Goodness gracious. Oh, go ahead, Jerron. I'm sorry.
Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. Ooh-wee. Let that marinate for a minute. That was a good assessment, man. I mean, you painted that picture, Doc. I guess we kind of touched on an array of issues. I guess we can kind of get to some simpler things, and that would be what advice would you give someone interested in running for office, whether city councils, county commissioner, what have you? What advice would you give them in their pursuit to run for office?
You know, it's funny you would ask that question. Occasionally, I get these inspirations to use my Facebook page to do a little teaching and training. And so one day, I think it was the window was open for people to file for office. And I was inspired to post, I think it was about 5 things you need to think about before if you're going to run for office. You know, one of the main things is, and I tell you got to have a fire in the belly. It's got to be something that you want to do. I've talked with several people. Some have talked to me about succeeding me on the council. And I tell them, you got to want this for you. Mm-hmm. Don't want it because you feel like it's what other people want you to do. No. You got to want this for you. So you got to have the fire in the belly first and foremost. You don't start running or you don't start serving the community when you start running for office. You don't do that. You got to begin serving the community long before, even if you have aspirations. If you say, you know what, 5 years from now, I want to run for city council, or 3 years from now, I want to run for school board. Okay, get in the mix. Get in leadership dollars, or get involved with some community-based grassroots organization. You know, I tell this story. I've got a mentee. His name is Sean Reed. I met Sean years ago because Sean volunteered. I posted on my Facebook page, hey, if you're interested in working in a campaign or run for re-election, Sean reached out to me. He saw that Facebook post. Sean became one of my part-time phone bankers. He was making calls for my campaign. Next year, when I ran for re-election, Sean was my driver on election day. He was driving me around to the polling sites. Mm-hmm. Next election, I trained Sean and others trained Sean how to be a get out the vote coordinator. Today, Sean is the lead for a nonpartisan civic engagement voting group that I started called Our Vote, Our Voice. And then most importantly, Sean is now the president of Urban League Young Professionals. The time came for Sean to run to be president of Urban League Young Professionals. He had been trained. He had been groomed. And he's still being trained and being groomed. And so I'm just giving one example of someone who went about doing it the right way. Was interested, got involved. We tell people, volunteer. If you want to run for office, volunteer on the campaign. Mm-hmm. Because you'll get a chance to see all of the jobs, all of the tasks that are necessary in order to make a campaign go. Don't jump up and want to be campaign manager. You never worked a campaign. You know, You need to go and make a cup of coffee for the candidate. You know what I'm saying? Just get involved at a very basic level so you can get some experience. Before I ever ran for office, there's a guy named Scott Chase. Scott ran for county commissioner years ago. He didn't make it out of the primary, but he asked me to be on his kitchen cabinet. First time I'd ever been a part of the brain trust of a candidate before. And I got a chance to learn many different aspects of the campaign that I would have never known. I also had a chance to go through a candidate class at campaign school. They taught us every aspect of the campaign. And so you have to seek out these opportunities to serve and to learn. And once you do that, then the doors will open. People will be willing to support you and help you. When I was in a campaign class, we did a session called GOTV. And they didn't train us on what to get out the vote meant. And my mentor, many of you know Demetra Sampson, she taught that class. What Demetra told us was, what each of you have to do, and it was in the middle of an election, early voting was going on. What each one of you have to do is you have to get at least 100 people to go and vote. And her point was this: if you can't get 100 people to vote for you, or you can't get 100 people to vote, you don't even need to think about running for office. So it wasn't a situation where we could learn sitting in the classroom. She wanted us to get out and talk to people about going to vote. Well, me and someone who ended up being my former colleague on the council, Eric Wilson, we were class together. We got nickel slick. Well, Harambe is the festival they have at the Martin Luther King Center for Thanksgiving. It's called Harambe. Well, what we did is we got a table at Harambe. And as we know, Martin Luther King is an early voting location. So what we did is we just had a table. We saw people coming to Harambe. We told them, hey, it's an election going on. You can go and vote to Martin Luther King Center. And so we were smart. You know what I'm saying? We were innovative because the goal was to get 100 people to vote. We knew it was going to be several hundred people that was coming to that event. And because we had the table, because we had the access, we were able to use that in order to get people to vote. At the end of the day, if you can't get people to go and vote, then you disqualify yourself as a candidate.
Wow. That's it. That's it. So a lot of you folks out here running for office, you just heard it here first. If you can't get 100 folks to vote, you don't need to be running for office.
But some people out here running for exercise.
I definitely want to ask this question with the disparity. Especially, I can speak with Dallas County, being that I live in Dallas County, with the disparity of the vote numbers, being that however African Americans vote, that's how Dallas County goes. Do you think that the black vote is for sale, and people don't take really the wherewithal of importance of the black vote, and is the black vote for sale?
In some cases, it is. In other cases, the black vote is taken for granted. You know, one of the first meetings I had when Christy Noble became Dallas County Democratic Party chair was with her. I sat and I talked, and normally I'm a listener. Normally I listen. We met for 30 minutes. I talked for 25 minutes because I wanted her to understand, and I wanted to make sure that I was speaking for the community. And the community's opinion, the black community feels like the only time they see candidates is at election time. Only time I see you is when you come and ask for my vote. You're not doing nothing to improve my community. You're just coming to ask for my vote. So either you can stay in office or you can get elected to office. But what were you during the storm? Brother, I can tell you, during the storm, not just me, several of my colleagues, at apartment complexes delivering water. You know what I'm saying? After the winter storm, when we had apartments that had, you know, the water damage and all these issues, I'm there handing out bottles of water so people can take a flush the toilet, so people can take a bath. You know what I'm saying? And then one of the current U.S. senators, you know, because it was a little uncomfortable in his house, he decided he want to go, you know, it ain't nothing for me to do. So I'm just going to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You know, it's always something you can do. Perception is reality. If you just show up, then people are going to value the fact that you were present. Once somebody I have a lot of respect for is Miss Edna Pemberton. Many people say the reason Redbird Mall is open and thriving now is because of Edna Pemberton. Edna Pemberton told me this years ago, and I love her to death. She said, you win by participating. Just showing up. You just never know the impact you'll make by showing up. There are a couple of young people that I've tried to mentor over the past maybe 5 or 10 years. And I was at an event, and they were there, college student at the time, and I said, it's good seeing you. Keep showing up. And they did, kept showing up. One turned out to be a organizer with Top, was hired as an organizer for Top. Now she's working for a nonprofit leading civic engagement. Another one has his own nonprofit. Another one was trained and organized to lead marches and protests during the defund the police movement. All of these are young people who, because they just kept showing up, were able to get in position to where they could really have an impact on the community. And so you win by participating. You win by showing up. And if you have any aspirations of being an elected official, then you got to show up. People got to know who you are. One of the most valuable things for a candidate is name ID and name recognition. People may not know anything about you but your name. And as long as they know your name and you have a good name, then people will vote for you.
That is so true, and you kind of hit a couple of nerves when you said being coming around when it's time for either election time or you're trying to get some campaign contributions, especially by me being a labor organization. I think that's the most disingenuous thing you can do is you come to us for labor endorsement and for labor dollars, but when it comes to us calling on you for certain agenda items and things like that, you kind of go dormant. We can't get you to return a call. Even some of your friends in the city council, and I'm gonna make it very clear when it comes to you calling wanting us to help. We're gonna remember when you weren't there for us. So I'm letting you know now you're on notice because we were there for you. And when we asked for you to do a couple of things, and we don't reach out much, I just think that's disingenuous for you to not return a phone call or not even have the decency to even reply to an email. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Ernest, because I remember when I did my screening for you, and I was at a hotel room.
Right.
I was at a hotel on 24-hour notice. I think I was in San Antonio at the basketball championship game.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
we exchanged a text while I'm watching the championship game.
Yeah. So that's why, like I said, I don't have no issue saying that anytime you need us, it's not a hesitation there because, like I said, you didn't have to do it, but you when you came to our candidate screening and when we started doing our labor roundup, you were the first one to say, "Let me know, put me on the agenda." So we'll never forget that. And
absolutely. And during the interview, Ernest, I said, "Hey, after the day I get reelected, hey, if y'all need anything, call my office. We need to meet. We need to meet quarterly, whatever." Let's do it. And we've had several meetings about several things that are priorities for the labor movement in particular. And so I told you we have an open door, and that's exactly what I've tried to do, be a person of my word. And I'm going to say this for a minute. I had people, and when you're just doing it, you're doing it out of heart to serve and for the right reason, you don't think twice about it.
Right.
I had people who would tell me when I first got elected, maybe about 2 or 3 months, they gave me a little time to get some work in. They said, "You have done exactly what you said you were going to do." I said, "Is that not what people do?" They said, "No." They said, "People tell you they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and they get in office and do exactly what they want to do. But that wasn't you. You have done exactly what you said you were going to do." And I said, "Man, you know what? I really appreciate that because oftentimes, when you are doing it and you're doing it for the right reason, you don't even think about it." One of the hardest things for me, and you can ask anybody who was on my campaign cabinet, one of the hardest things for me to do was when I got ready to run for re-election the first time, to actually sit down and write down all the things that I had done because I had to tell my story and the work that I had done, or else my constituents wouldn't know in order to re-elect me. That was the hardest thing because I just went to work. I saw a need in my district. I had a vision. I had a plan. I had a relationship with the city manager and city staff, treated them with respect. They were willing to do whatever I needed help with. And I just went to work. We got done a whole lot in a short period of time. And the hardest thing for me to do was sit down and write down all of those things and come up with a way to share those things that I had done in a way in which my constituents would understand. And so when you have a heart to serve and you just doing the work, oftentimes you don't even think about, the impact of what you've done. And that's why I know it's a calling for me, because I just do the work. Don't even think twice about it. People ask me, Casey, when do you sleep? We see you on Facebook, you hear you there, hey, I'm just here to serve. That's it. And when my time is up on the council, if it's an opportunity for me to serve in an elected office again, I'll do it. If not, then hopefully I can take this knowledge and experience, and somebody will see the value in it and will put me on their payroll.
All right, that's all right there. Ooh, man, this has been awesome, man. This has been awesome. Oh, man, we got 4 minutes. I'm sorry. I guess let me just close with a last question for you, Councilman. On a lighter note, because you've been throwing some home runs at us this whole evening, man. I guess the question would be is if you could have dinner with 3 politicians, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Dead or alive? 3 politicians?
Yeah.
Okay. One would be former President Barack Obama. Another one would be, let's see, dead or alive.
And why? And why?
And why?
Yes, sir.
Okay. President Barack Obama, because he's the first black man to have that much power. I would want to know what he didn't write in his book. Those things I would want to know. Second one would, and this is probably gonna throw people off, Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson, you were from Texas, a state that was not really friendly to civil rights. However, what was that compelled you coming in after John F. Kennedy to put forth an effort to pass voting rights, civil rights? Why was that important for you? And the third one would be Mickey Leland. He had so much potential. People just knew one day he would be a cabinet member. What is it that many years ago that inspired you and encouraged you to be able to be looked at as potentially maybe the first black speaker of the House or a cabinet member? So those are the 3.
Wow. That's some good ones there.
Man. Yeah. We definitely want, in closing, we definitely want to appreciate Councilman Thomas for giving us a time. We're definitely humbled and appreciative that you was to come on our platform and just give us some nuggets and to definitely inform our listeners and watchers of everything that you have going on. We definitely appreciate it. Want to give a shout out to BS3 Network. Closing, Councilman Thomas, can you tell people where to find you on social media and any emails or anything that you want to give out to our listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you, Phil. Let's do this again sometime soon. Thank you for having me. I can be found on Facebook, Casey Thomas II. On Twitter and Instagram, KCT07. My email is kct1911@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me. We need to build this army of the willing who are going to go out into our communities and talk to people who normally are not communicated with about why it's important for them to be involved in the political process. We can't just do this at election time. We've got to do it year round. And so I think this is a great opportunity to get people involved and engaged, because if we're successful, there will be real change at the top in Texas. And then we need to train people on how to legislate, how to advocate legislatively to make sure those policies that we need change, put the people in place, and then bring forth the policy that's going to bring about the real change. So thank you, gentlemen. It's been my pleasure.
All right. Hold tight for a second, Councilman. Go ahead. Close us out, Tremont.
All right. We definitely appreciate it. And like I said, in closing, we definitely appreciate our listeners, our watchers, our viewers. Definitely appreciate the love. Like I said, Councilman Thomas coming on and giving us these nuggets. Definitely, like I said, if you want to get out there and make a change, do the work. That's just what it is. Just do the work. Do the work. Not looking for anything in return. Do the work because you definitely want to make a change and doing it of the kindness of your heart. Because, like I said, I could personally say, Councilman Thomas has been a mentor to me. Anything that I need, I shoot him a text, I give him a call, and he's always there. So I definitely appreciate the mentorship and the brotherhood that you always show and give me, because you could be doing a whole lot of other things, but like I said, you definitely show me good counsel, and definitely what I try to do in the community. So we definitely appreciate it. This was another good one, Ernest. We appreciate it. Councilman, just stay on. We're just gonna have a little debrief, and we definitely appreciate it. And we catch everyone next week.